What we're going to go over quickly today in less than an hour is really the top 5 mistakes I see with new drone flyers and how to avoid them. So this is a practical training session, and I think whether you are a beginner or experienced flyer, hopefully I'll bring to light a few tips and tricks to help you along your way. First, before we get going here, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Dr. Kim Baldwin, and I was born and raised in California, in San Diego. My background is in biology, pre-med. I went to UCSB and I did marine biology. From there, I got my first job was an internship in the Turks and Caicos Islands. That was in the year 2000. And that is where I fell in love with the Caribbean. I'm a scuba diver. I'm a marine ecologist. That's my first degree by trade. And then from there, I got a full scholarship to go to Barbados, to the University of the West Indies. And in exchange for the full scholarship, I had to work for the university doing diving field surveys. So my background is environmental management, and I've been in Barbados for over 25 years. I'm a dual citizen now of Barbados and the United States. As I mentioned, fisheries is really where my heart is at from my master's degree. That was what I studied, was looking at local knowledge of fishermen and socioeconomics and incorporating that with science and decision making. I really fell in love with participatory mapping and understanding local knowledge to make more informed decision making. So from there, I did a lot of environmental impact assessments. So really my background is very heavy in data collection and on the ground field work, but also this integration of conventional scientific information together with social, economic, and local knowledge information using an ecosystem approach so that we can better understand the environment. And at that point in time, we called it sustainable development, which is now more ecosystem-based management, marine spatial planning, all those fun terms. But really at the end of the day, for the environmental managers, it's really this holistic approach. So that's where my heart and my background is. I moved forward to do a PhD in participatory GIS. My PhD is in environmental management. I taught GIS at the University of the West Indies for over 18 years. So I have a very strong analytical data background. So I was doing mapping with GIS, but integrated at that point in time with diving surveys. So running transects and doing traditional surveys and integrating that with GIS and aerial imagery. Now, being in the Caribbean for 20 something years, we were very limited, and we still are limited in terms of data and resources. So I really got obsessed, you could say, with understanding the best way that we could collect this data and information. And what my PhD looked at was conventional science, but also the integration of widespread stakeholder knowledge. And what we found is that A, local knowledge is very important, but B, there's a lot of information you can get from communities and people working on the ground that actually you can't get any other way. You know, the social cohesion, the drivers within the community, and other local knowledge sources. So that is where my heart and my passion is. That was my PhD, which was a 6-year project creating a transboundary marine GIS database for the countries of St. Vincent, the Grenadines, and Grenada. It spanned 50 islands, over 1,000 people worked together. That being said, that's really where my approach that I teach today is grounded. And at that point, I was creating marine spatial plans and building these massive databases. And what I realized is that a lot of people were not effectively using this data. We were creating great information. I was spending years at a time working with stakeholders to build GIS databases, and they were sitting on shelves. Government agencies weren't using them. Local stakeholders couldn't use them because GIS is hard to use. GIS is something to build the capacity. I was teaching at the university, and in a semester, students were still struggling because the learning curve's pretty steep. Once you get good, then it's not so bad. So I decided at that point to stop doing the databases and collecting and start transitioning. This is about 2012. My career became really teaching, training, and capacity building to teach people how to use environmental data and how they can be involved for collaborative management. So that being said, there still was that bottleneck, the GIS, the data, getting people. And so I was focused on it, but it was hard. And then around 2014, 2013, actually, my dad got a drone. But by 2014, 2015, there was the Phantom. You could get a $1,500 drone and you could collect your own imagery, which was a shortage in the Caribbean, right? We didn't have the money to buy task satellites, or if we did get it from Google Earth, most of the coastal areas weren't covered or the island was under clouds. So to me, I was like, this is going to be huge for what I'm doing. So I taught myself how to fly. My brothers and I, they're photographers. We all got drones at the same time. We all learned together. I became a commercial drone pilot in 2016. And I was one of the first 750 women in America to get a commercial drone license. So I started very early out in the game. And I actually had my first drone training project that year, putting on a training and developing a national drone team and policy for the government of Antigua and Barbuda. So I have a long history of teaching, training, and really capacity building. So my experience is widespread. I'm very multidisciplinary, and that's what I impart on my students, is really how to think and how to collaborate with other people to get good holistic information. Like I said, since 2015, I've gone out and I've trained hundreds or thousands of people actually across 15 Caribbean countries as well as the United States. I have drone licenses now in over, I think it's 16 countries, and we've mapped thousands of acres. I've trained multiple industries and applications ranging from agriculture, climate change, disaster risk, coastal mapping, enforcement, monitoring, and surveillance, and now moving into LiDAR, thermal. All these drones are getting a lot more technical and specialized. I think really the approach and the style, it's really a methodology that can be re-leveraged for a variety of industries. That's the way I teach, whether it was back in the GIS days or now. It's not really a sectoral or an application. It's really a methodology approach. So the drone industry, why are we here today? The drone industry, since I started, has been booming. Every year it jumps, leaps, and bounds. It's valued at over $70 billion in 2024 and is projected to more than double by 2030. It's got a 7.3 annual growth rate. And what's fueling this growth is the commercial drone sector. This now makes up the largest share of the market, with services accounting for nearly 80% of the commercial industry. So things like mapping, inspections, monitoring, geospatial data collection, the same types of work that you can do once you build the professional skill set. So the new industries are really adopting, again, over the last 10 years, every year, there's more and more industries joining the market, whether it's for solar panels or construction, environmental management, disaster response. I could go on forever. There's one that you just saw there. It was a drone that actually has a sprayer to clean high-rise buildings. In the past, people would have to climb up the ladder to get to these areas. There's firefighting drones. I could go on and on about the various applications and industries. Long story short, it is not too late to get involved. This is probably one of the best times to enter the field. As this technology becomes more accessible, there's a growing demand for trained, skilled pilots that can safely manage data and deliver high quality results. I think that is the difference between somebody that is not trained properly and the people that get jobs. Why people hire me is because it's high quality, professional, accurate data. And so that requires a methodology, skill sets, right? So the earning potential, just last but not least, I think I just looked up something right before, and they're saying a skilled pilot right now can make anywhere between 60 to 120,000 US dollars in a year, depending on their niche and expertise. Now that's the key question, because students ask me, what do you charge? It really depends on your experience. So what are the benefits overall of drone technology? Number one, it saves most times a lot in cost and time efficiency. I think one of the biggest things, especially those last slides were for the commercial UAV conference I just attended a few weeks ago, is safety and accessibility. Also the ability now, year by year, the payloads are getting lighter. Payloads, the sensor and the types of sensors. So being able to collect high resolution, extremely accurate data in a rapid and timely way. So the other big benefits for me is that by using drone technology, it's become a lot easier to use. When I started in 2015, it was much more difficult. It's gotten much easier with the advent of technology. So again, applying it for participatory or collaborative, the engagement, the transparency in what data is, and also, like I mentioned, teaching in a way, collecting data. I train my teams to collect, because I train a lot of government agencies, to collect an ecosystem approach so that it can be used for multiple industries and applications. You're not just thinking so in a silo, in one industry way. And again, this is a skill that can build capacity and is also integrated, again, my heart, with all the sustainable development goals. So what are we going to learn today? We're going to learn the common mistakes. I'm going to jump into those right now. What's causing them and why you should care, as well as how to start building your skills and confidence in drone flying. So flying, that's the easy part. I think people get really intimidating about flying. Typically, I could teach somebody very quickly. You can watch a few YouTube videos. Nowadays, drones have gotten very automated, that flying is to me the easiest part. But building the confidence and the methods and the skills, now there is where things get a little more important. I guess I would say is a more important factor. So what's the first mistake? The biggest mistake that I see, hands down, is that people buy the wrong gear. They buy the wrong drone. So when I started, there was one drone, the Phantom 4 Pro, or the Phantom at that point in time, and it could do everything. It was a photography drone, it was an ag drone, it was inspections, it could be used for mapping, but that is not the case. Drones and the consumer industry has decided that financially, that is not a smart move. So what do they have for, especially for people like me? They have different drones for every single application. There isn't a one size fits all drone nowadays. There's drones that are made for photography. There's drones that are made for mapping. There are drones that are made for inspections. So drones are very specialized. You can't just go out there and buy any drone and think it's going to be the right tool for your job. So for example, here on the left, you're going to see we've got the mini drone. That is made primarily for YouTubers, for people that are traveling, that just want to get quick shots, all right? It's also less than 249 grams, which means it doesn't need to be licensed. Now there's different types of remote controls. Not every type of remote control will allow you to do mapping. Not every type of mobile device will allow you to do mapping. iOS is, for DJI drones at least, is made to work seamlessly together. You can use an Android, but it's very glitchy. All right, and then on the bottom, you see this very fancy Mavic Enterprise. So Enterprise means that it's a commercial grade drone, but that's a Mavic Cine, which means it's only made for cinematography. And I can't tell you how many agencies I've gone to, and they have this equipment that's right here on the screen, and they spent a lot of money, and it's not suitable for the job at hand. So that's the first thing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody that's shown up in this webinar, you'll get an email in a couple days with the replay, but it will also give you this one-page handout guide. Now, I focused on the most common mapping type of drones. Why? Because I would assume that most people in here care about mapping drones. So that guide will be given to everybody here. I obviously don't have time to go through all of these drones at this point, but you really need to understand that there's no one size fits all for drones. All right. So again, these are things that I get into a lot deeper in my training courses, is exactly which gear do you need for what. The next big mistake is not understanding the rules. I posted something on my Instagram a day ago just asking about recreational flying. Do you need a license to fly recreationally in the United States? The answer is yes. Most people don't know this. You need to take something called the trust, the recreational flying test, to even go out and fly your drone, your mini, any type of drone. You technically need to have a recreational license. So I think that's a big mistake, is that people don't understand the rules. They're ignorant of the rules. And in most countries, it doesn't matter. You will still be prosecuted even if you claim ignorance. That is not an excuse. So the perfect example is just a few days ago, I was here in San Diego. I was down by the airport, and you can see I'm downtown. I don't know if you can see her. I circled it here. There's a drone flying right over the road here. Okay, so this guy's flying his drone, And first of all, he's above a moving street. So that is number one illegal thing, right? Why can't you fly over the road? Because it can cause an accident. People are driving, they look up, and you cause an accident. The next thing that's wrong here is that we are in an urban city environment, which is typically off limits in many countries. We're also within less than a mile from the San Diego International Airport, and there are 5 military bases in less than a kilometer's distance from here. And we're in a seaport. The cruise ship terminal is right behind where I'm standing in this picture. So here, the guy's excuse is, oh, I just got this drone, I don't know. So that is probably the biggest mistake. Understanding the difference between recreational flying and commercial flying. The next mistake that people make time and time again, and I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of this one, is skipping safety settings and flight planning. People think these drones have default settings. That is the most ridiculous thing. People don't understand the back end of the settings, the safety settings. It doesn't matter if you're flying a DJI drone or an Autel or a Skydio or an Anzu drone. Almost all of the drones, unless maybe it's some homemade drone, have special settings that you can put into place to either make your drone come back to home, prevent the maximum distance, prevent the maximum flying height. Maybe you know you're flying in a high interference situation. I was in the Bahamas and we were flying with my team there, and we set the settings because I knew we were around a lot of electromagnetic interference. Now, what is that? Those are the radio signals that would interfere with your drone. And so we use certain settings to keep the drone very close to us so that it wouldn't do something called a flyaway, which means it bolts out of the way if it's too close to electromagnetics. So that's metal structures, radars, etc. I also had another friend of mine from Barbados that told me that a jammer, he was flying over a port over the boats, and someone had a jammer that made his drone fly away and crash. No, it's because he was by radars. So teaching people the correct apps that they can check in terms of their settings, but also within the drone, but checking also no-fly zones, understanding national requirements, but doing something called a site assessment. So I'm going to Colombia this weekend, and so what did I do? I zoomed into Cartagena and I started exploring. First of all, I checked their civil aviation website so that I could get my recreational license and get licensed before I get there. And I am going only with the Mini, and I still need to have a recreational license in Colombia. So I check civil aviation. That's the first thing I do. The next thing I do is I go to Google Earth and I do a site assessment. I zoom in. So I check the website. Actually, in Cartagena, you can't fly over the old city. Okay, that's not in the DJI no-fly zone. That is within civil aviation's website. And then the other important thing that people need to do is flight planning, understanding weather, right? I was in St. Kitts earlier this year and it was extremely windy, right? And we wanted to fly, but because it was so windy, we flew into the wind so that if there's a problem, the drone flies back. Why? Because if you flew downwind and the wind kicked up and the drone's got to return to home, it might not be able to make it. So there's all types of safety settings and flight plannings, ones that are built within the drone, but also things that you can do as a pilot in command to minimize risk. It's called threat and error management. And by doing these things, 95% of the time, you will not crash or lose your drone. This is probably my biggest pet peeve, is poor data handling and management. And anybody that's taken my class knows how strict I am about metadata, right? Data about the data. Handling your flight logs, handling and organizing your multimedia. So even if you're a photographer, like my brothers, all right, they're photographers. And so they might not need to do data and reports like I do. But even the media of all the photography can get very overwhelming. So having folders, naming conventions, being able to effectively have a workflow, and this is something I've seen in no other drone training out there, is a real serious focus on how to handle and manage your data. Furthermore, in the United States, if you have a commercial Part 107, you are required by the FAA to have flight logs, flight records. If there were to be an accident, you need to be able to hand those over to the authority and show them what happened. Also, people don't understand that within your drone, there is something called a black box. So So if there's some joker in your work or your organization, I was working in a country, I won't name it, but they told me about an accident that had happened before they got their training. And so we were able to recover the drone and look at the black box and see that it was not an accident due to the drone. It was an accident due to the operator not knowing what they were doing. So really, the importance of organizing your media, your logs, and your reporting. And if you do this, your workflows are so much more efficient. But this is how you get jobs. This is how I get jobs, is because I am very strict with the data. All right. I can accurately record it, and I need to provide high level data. I'm a scientist. I'm a geospatial analyst. So if you want to make a big price point as a drone pilot, you need to be really good and organized with your data, as well as be able to report it and show the stats and all the various information and apply metadata standards so that your data is seen as credible. The fifth mistake, fear. I think a lot of people don't get into this industry because they are scared. They're scared of flying. Me, for example, I never played video games. And so people don't ever start because they're worried. And the reality is, I was pretty much the worst flyer out there when I started. Here's my first flight with my two brothers. They were gamers. They were like out there killing it. And I, on my second flight, what did I do? I took my two sticks. This is when they didn't have all these fail safes, safety settings built into the drone. And I got all excited. I was doing one stick at a time, going up and down. And then I did two sticks together, and I was getting excited. And I pushed the two sticks in together. And what did that do? The drone was 30 feet in the air. It turned off the motors, and the drone dropped into the bush. All right. And luckily we were able to recover it. The drone was not broken, but it taught me right out the gate the importance of learning and getting training and understanding the safety settings. The next thing I think that is extremely important is practice. So again, like I said, when I started, I wasn't master. Nobody, when they start driving cars, they don't know what they're doing. You go get a training where you go to the drive instructor and you learn to drive, but that doesn't mean that teenage kid is a good driver. You need to practice, all right? You can get all the training in the world, but at the end of the day, you won't get a job and you won't be good until you practice. As I tell my students, you need the stick time. So every single morning when I started, before I started work, I would pop off one drone battery. I would watch YouTube. I'm no photographer. I'm a mapper. I'm getting a little better at photography now, and I teach my students a lot of hacks so that they can make it seem to the unknowledgeable drone people that they are experts. I would find little clips and try to mock some. I saw a commercial on TV with a certain shot, and I would try to do it. And playing with the different settings, like I said, in the background. Going to a field, which was across the street from my house at that point in time. I had open field, and just practicing. And then the last thing here is the support, right? Having guidance, having a team, having other people to check in with and have support is really important. One more bonus mistake. This is one that I love because I'm a lifelong learner, is the biggest mistake is thinking you're done learning once you do a training. All right, you're never done learning. This industry is constantly changing. All right. Every training I have with students, I'm still learning new things. I'm learning emergencies that happen or new things happen. And so I'm constantly learning. Here's a picture of me on the left. I'm going to different industry events. I'm part of different drone groups so that you can stay current on the new tools, the various industry applications, and all the innovations. This is an industry that if you want to succeed, you must keep learning. You must stay on top of things. And every year, I literally will take at least a month off training altogether just to get out there and test and trial and learn new things, as well as go to conferences and network. Has anybody made any of these mistakes? Why don't you just put something in the chat? You don't have to say anything or give me a thumbs up or just say yes or no in the chat or the little emoji thing if you know how to do that on your Zoom. But is this shocking to anybody? Has anybody made any of these mistakes? Anybody willing to admit to any of these? Okay, I see a couple in the chat. Didn't understand the rules. My first drone was outdated within a year. Yes, not having a drone to fly for fun. Yeah, so yours is the practice, right? The practice. So great. I think You shouldn't be shamed. These mistakes are commonplace, and I'm guilty of them too, right? When you're starting, it's always a hard thing. So we'll move forward here. How can we avoid these? I think that's where I want to go in this second part here, is really what can we focus on? How can we go? How can we change? So really there's two ways. One, you could take the 5 tips that I just gave you. You can go out, you can do some research, you can do some YouTube. I'd highly recommend that you look at your civil aviation website if you have not for your home country, and go forward. The other way, I think, is there's a shorter time frame and it'll be a lot quicker, is really thinking about what you can do to improve your confidence and become a professional, and where your flight path may lead. So what I'm going to do is talk to you about the commercial operations class that I am launching and what you'd be able to do by the end of it. So what this class covers and what you will learn how to do is, 1, understand the drone industry. As I mentioned, the drones have become very specialized. The applications for the very industries, just as my friend was talking about the coffee industry in Nicaragua, that is a very specialized niche, right? Or maybe there's different regulations or requirements for commercial versus recreational flying as well. Also commercial, different requirements for commercial drone license is really a professional, right? You're doing it for some type of work. And many times this requires you to have other things in place, such as liability insurance. You might have to have a certificate of competency, depending on your home country. Or maybe you need to have a commercial operations manual. And that is really a guidebook that talks about your internal policies. Whether you are a solopreneur or you're running a team, it is a manual that in most countries when you operate, you have to hand over to civilization, showing them the safety measures. Drone policies, procedures, and regulations are all about one thing: safety. FAA, if you're anywhere in the country, if you want to break the drone rules, let's say you need to fly near a no-fly zone, if you need to fly higher than 400 feet, you need to show them what you are going to do, the threat and error or the safety measures that you are going to put in place. They don't really care what you're doing it for. They want to know what you're going to do to minimize risk. So really, how do you fly safely and confidently? By doing those flight planning, getting flight requests, understanding how to properly plan a mission, and then go out, execute the mission. So the flight conduct that needs to happen, the data that needs to be collected, the maintenance that must be done on your drone, as well as the reporting. So having standard operating procedures through the entire workflow is extremely important. And the last but not least is how to handle your gear and your data effectively. All right, being able to produce high quality data and reports, metadata, as well as be able to take care of your gear. So maintenance, repairs, how to travel with your data, different emergency handling procedures. All of these are extremely important. And all of these I cover in detail in my class. So really it's about how to operate safely and legally with precision. What I find, or what I've always taught to my team since day one. So being a Caribbean girl and being a GIS girl and growing up in the United States, whenever I went to GIS and tech conferences, I always felt ashamed. Why? Because in the Caribbean, I felt like we were living in the dark ages. We were 10 years, 20 years behind. So when I got my first drone job to develop standard operating procedures and a policy and procedures and a data management strategy for the government, and I helped write the draft policy for the government of Antigua and Barbuda, I wanted to make sure that the methodologies that I developed would be at global international standards. So what did I do? The nerdy PhD I am, I researched every single drone rules and regulations, whether it was the US, Europe, Australia, Canada. I looked at all the different countries around the world and I developed standard operating procedures that would either fulfill or exceed these standards so that my drone pilots could walk around with their head held proud. I work with the United Nations and I can't tell you how many people, foreign consultants, World Bank, IDB, have come in and seen my drone teams operate, and they are blown away at the professionalism, the safety standards, and the fact that they are really ensuring and producing high quality compliant data. So that is probably one of the biggest benefit of my approach. I'm not teaching people in this class how to get a Part 107, how to take that written exam. Anybody can study or watch a YouTube video. Don't worry, I give you the resources to take one of those exams wherever you are in the world, because the rules and the regulations around the world are generally the same. But what this class teaches you is the real world practical skills so that you can work effectively in a minimal amount of time and be able to have that operational readiness, right? Whatever job comes at you, you can effectively plan and execute it, whether you're working with yourself or you're setting up a team for the government or a large agency or a small nonprofit. I've worked with them all, whether you're working with a fishing co-op or you're engaging communities. So I've worked with many students. My oldest was a 76-year-old man. He could barely read and write. He could WhatsApp text. All right. So it really doesn't matter where you're at. I've done this class so many times with so many cohorts over the year. I am very confident in the fact that this can be scaled to a global audience virtually. So what's going to come inside this class is it's 12 modules. It's a very comprehensive, intensive class. The first module is all about the industry, what I touched on today, the various components, the different drones, the payloads, what they can be used for, the price points, and that sort of thing. Like I mentioned, the use cases, the different applications and career opportunities that are out there. So understanding the overall industry, but then understanding the policy, right? The policy, whether it's globally down to a national level and the regulations. So guiding you. I'm the type of person I find that people think the best when they are guided to figure out the solutions for yourself. So it doesn't matter what country you are in. I will be guiding you to work with your own civil aviation authority to get your commercial license, wherever that might be. So commercial operating procedures and the reporting protocols will be covered in this, from planning and accepting flight requests all the way down to the reporting, so that you can operate as a professional, whether you are doing this as a business or you are doing this for your job. Then flight planning. So how to do risk management, threat and error management, and minimize your accident probability. And as I've gone over again and again, it's those data protocols, the operational management. This is what will set you apart from other people, is being able to very precisely collect data and have those high quality standards. I will be using real case studies based on my last 10 plus years, not just as an instructor, but as a consultant, right? I just got a new job yesterday and I have terms of reference of all the different things that are required for a pretty big agency. So being able to guide you along the way so that you can do something similar, so that you can get those high paying jobs. Also as a bonus, so this is the first time I'm going to be launching this class virtually. So I won't really call it a beta, but this will be the first launch in 2025. This course will have special things that next year this class will not have. Why? Because I'm going to be a little more involved through this first round of the course. So you'll be getting all of my commercial checklists, my data sheets, my flight logs, all the different resources that you're going to need. Plus, I have all types of handouts I've been creating, the various go-to apps that I have for the drones, but also for your desktop software. I have a Google form for accepting flight requests. So you get a form that people fill out so that you can better assess and price and plan the job at hand and determine, are you able to do it, or is it above your skill level, or maybe you don't have the right gear for it. Also, mission planning worksheets and reporting templates. Last but not least, the special bonus I will be throwing into this package, which is starting your own business. It's going to be a live webinar. It's a mini course, but it will have a live webinar talking about all the various things you need to do to get started, to have your own business, as well as how to price your services, which is a big question my students always love to ask me, and an open Q&A session. That is going to be included in this course launch. Who is this for? This class really is designed for all types of people, whether you are a professional or you are working for a government agency or you're working for a small nonprofit. So this is an example here. This is Shanice. She's a marine biologist, and she started using drones at the first. She had zero experience. She didn't even know she could fly. She was so shy. There's her at the end, all proud and confident. And she's now using it for sea turtle monitoring in Tobago and erosion monitoring. And Kyle from Barbados, he works at the fisheries division and he's a vessel inspector. And so now he's using the drone technology to inspect and map landing sites. We had Hurricane Beryl hit Barbados about a year ago. And so having those mapping of the infrastructure pre and post disaster. We had a map of Bridgetown Market before and we did one after, and he was able very quickly to quantify and the damages and improve and streamline insurance claims. And last, Trevon from St. Vincent. I actually realize they're all marine people. I do teach a lot of agri people as well, but same thing. It's really empowering people. They really feel excited and all of a sudden they become like me and find 100 reasons why somebody should be using a drone. You start realizing every person should be using drones. I see someone doing a roofing job, or I see this or that, or search and rescue, and you think, wow. So I hope that you're ready to take things to the next step. Now let's talk about this. What you're going to get is the 12 class module. You're going to get all the data sheets. You're going to get all the templates. You're going to get the mini course. And last but not least, you're going to be getting proficiency certificates. So my students that are here on the call, I want to let you know I've recently been approved and I'm working with a drone company called AirData UAV. So now all my classes will be professionally certified by AirData UAV. So what that does is it provides a website where you can share all your certifications. This is an internationally recognized certification. You're going to get 2 certifications in this class. If you finish the class, you'll get your basic proficiency safety certificate. But I also, because many civil aviations require an exam, there will be a final exam. And if you pass the final exam, then you will get your proficiency certificate for commercial operations and professional piloting. So all of this will be included. Really, this is a $1,500 value for his comprehensive course. But what I'm going to do for this first time is I'm going to offer this training program for just $500 during this first launch. So if you're interested, you definitely need to jump in on this. These prices will not be the same in 2026. They are going to be closer to $1,000. But for this first launch, to thank everybody that has been supporting me and following me for years, I've been getting emails from people around the world that want to do this. So I've taken some time off so that I can launch this, refilming it all right now as a fully virtual class. I will also have extra add-ons if people need one-on-one coaching or mentoring. So I'm going to open it now to questions from people. I want to hear from you. You can either take a picture here of that QR code to take you to my website. I should have put it up here. It's www.drkimbaldwin.com. You're going to see all my courses there. And if you go on the individual commercial operations or you go on the individual starting your own business course pages, you're going to see it's valued at $1,000. And you're going to see the starting your own business is $500. But if you click this code or you look on my website for the bundle, that's where you're going to see this special offer. So you can scan it here. I just wanted to let you know. Also, there's an invite that is open right now, and that's my Sky Tribe community. I'll make sure that's in the email as well, but I invite you to join that. So that is a private group just for professional pilots around the world so that we can talk, we can network. I'll probably do some live streams and have some special office hours and open sessions as well so that we can all get to know each other. So that is open right now to everybody. There's no cost in that Sky Tribe, so I highly encourage you to join. But within the course, obviously, you'll have a lot more one-on-one contact with me, those that are enrolled in the course, than just the virtual group. Is there any questions? How long will this discount last? Okay, yeah, the class is being offered on November 10th. On the website, you'll see different payment plans. So if you can't afford the $500 straight out the gate, either you can send me an email message and talk to me, but there's also different apps on there that allow you to pay in installments. One called Klarma, there's one called Afterpay. There's about 5 or 6 options. There's PayPal, and I think PayPal offers payment plans. In the future, I will be looking, and I have applied for a couple grants for nonprofit agencies to get a scholarship, but that is something that won't be happening soon. I just applied, so we'll see. Would I need to begin the course on that day? No. This is a very good question. The question was, if I enroll by November 10th, do I need to begin the course on that day? or is the course self-paced and can we start later? Absolutely. So in all of my classes, you can go the drkimbaldwin.com. That's my landing page. But all of my classes are built with a learning management system called Thinkific. Now, Thinkific is a mobile app. It works on your phone, but it also works on a desktop. So it's 24-hour access. Every webinar, every lesson is fully recorded and will be available for replays, all of the resources. You can download the PDFs directly from there. You can use your phone if you want to learn on the go or you only have a time in the evenings. There's going to be people joining from all over the world. There will be office hours, which will be live points in time. And so once we have everybody enrolled, we'll have a poll to see when that would be, when the most amount of people can make it on that point in time. But we're not going to worry about that date yet. If you can't make it at that point in time, everything will be fully recorded and available for replay. So if you haven't checked out www.drkimbaldwin.com, go, because I've got lots of free webinars and you can get started with seeing some of my free classes. You'll be able to see the Academy platform there. Someone is asking
if you need to have a drone for the course.
Good question. Thank you. You scan this code, you'll see at the bottom of the page, I have an FAQ section. But the answer is no, you actually don't need to have a drone. All right. I will be giving you skills to practice things if you do have a drone. Absolutely. I do already have a few people that are enrolled in this class and they don't have a drone. I told this agency not to buy the drone yet. Why? Because we're going to go over everything. So before they go out and they purchase drones, I want them to take the courses. They're going to be setting up a drone unit for their agency. So these people are taking the commercial operations class first so that they can understand the rules, the regulations, the requirements, the data handling. They can figure out how that's going to merge into their workflows first. I told them, don't buy the drone yet. Do this class first. Understand everything that's required. Purchase the equipment and then take the next step forward. So the answer is you don't necessarily need to have a drone. Great question. All right.
Another question. With all the training you've done over the last 5-10 years, can you tell us, do you have any data on businesses? How are they doing in the drone business in the Caribbean? How's the drone business?
This is an industry. I think people need to take a step back and you should jump on now. It's harder in the US to get into the industry because there's a lot more people doing it. So to learn to do it right, correctly from the start and how to market yourself, and this is why I'm so strict about data, is it's a small pond. People, you crash your drone, you do something stupid with your drone, you don't collect good data, right? You're not going to be getting more work. People learn real quick good quality. And this isn't just whether you're in science or data collection. This is a global thing. I've never had a problem getting work. Why? Because I do everything to the best of my ability. I dot every dot, I cross every T. You got to do things precisely and accurately. When you start cutting corners and you start getting sloppy, and again, commercial operations is all about procedures. All right. It's not like I just get out there, my teams, we don't just get out there and fly. We don't just decide we got to go scout something. You have to plan it and you do it correctly and in a good way so that you actually are effective. All right. Is there any final questions? Thanks again, everybody. And it was great to see a few of my old students here on the call. That means you're not sick of me yet. Reach out to me, send me a message if there's anything you have more questions about. I really hope to see you all in November. This is going to be a great launch. And as I mentioned, this first time, I'm going to be a lot more involved in this class than the future cohorts. So I would encourage you all to try to find a way, if you're interested, to get in on this training and let me know if you have any other questions. I look forward to kicking this off. It's been years that I wanted to do this. So thanks again, everyone.